Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Okay, I think this is going to be a rather big week. A lot of good news coming out, I think. Of course, more psyops continue to be believed, which is remarkably terrible, but I'll start with this. There is no doubt that Charlie Kirk is alive. There is no doubt that it was fake. There is a video that I will attach in the description below. You need to watch it. It's arguably, I think, one of the best that's out there. There are many videos that are out there, but this one is incredibly objective. And again, it doesn't get into other conspiracy theories or other angles of other particular hoaxes or possible theories that he is in fact shot and here's what happened and blah, blah, blah. Again, you can immediately tell also the individuals that don't want to learn the truth because they will block you. Or, of course, on social media, they'll keep you from making comments. This is always one of the signs, again, that these individuals want to run with their own story. They want to run with their own angle. This John Cullen guy, who apparently broke down the Trump shooting, he's even got this theory out there that there was a plane that went overhead before the shooting took place and dropped off all of these drones. And that all of these drones were flying around in the area capable of taking a shot, and that's what killed Charlie Kirk. I mean, he's completely lost his mind. Or again, he is out there on purpose to confuse people. Again, in situations like this, if 100 people are saying 100 different things, you get to listen to all 100 people. But then you have to break it down to about 50. And say, okay, 50 of those are not plausible, but these 50 seem to be more plausible. And then you have to work through that 50. And then you have to, again, narrow it down to about 25, and then about 10, and then about 5, and then about 1. And you just have to continuously narrow down the situation and arrive at a conclusion. And I've arrived at one, and again, it's one that's shared by endless people. But the lie keeps getting pushed so hard by so many people. In fact, it's been pushed now so hard, in particular by one of the producers or the lead producer, allegedly, for the Charlie Kirk show. This guy who, again, no one really knew of until he decided to start showing his face on camera and becoming an even worse actor than Charlie Kirk's alleged wife. This is a Andrew Colvett, and this guy's lost his mind. He's lost his mind. The things that he's been saying in the past week regarding, again, Charlie Kirk and his wife and whatever else are beyond absurd, and there's no emotion in his face when he's saying any of this. He's almost smiling, if not downright laughing in some footage. But here's what he put out on X, and people are jumping all over his ass. And of course, you can tell it's fake, and that this entire story is fake, and what he describes here is fake because Fox News ran with it also like it was fact. Again, September 20th, 7:57 p.m., he said the following, quote, "I want to address some of the discussion about the lack of an exit wound with Charlie. I'm usually not interested in delving into most of this kind of online chatter, and I apologize, this is somewhat graphic, but in this case, the fact that there wasn't an exit wound is probably another miracle, and I want people to know." Oh, it's not a miracle, it's a lie. Moving on, he continues and says, "I just spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital." Which hospital did he go to, and what's the surgeon's name? Funny how none of that is discussed. He goes on here and he says, quote, "The surgeon said that the bullet, quote, absolutely should have gone through, which is very normal for a high-powered, high-velocity round. I've seen wounds from this caliber many times, and they always just go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, an elk, etc." So this Andrew Colvett guy decides to put that quote out from a so-called doctor who's seen multiple wounds from a .30-06, and he doesn't think he's going to get any blowback, or does he not care? It says, quote, he said, quote, "But it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. I mentioned to his doctor that there were dozens of staff, students, and special guests standing directly behind Charlie on the other side of the tent, and he replied, quote, it was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed. Quote, His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that it's like the Man of Steel. It should have just gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too, unquote. In the end, the coroner did find the bullet just beneath the skin. Even in death, Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. Remarkable. Miraculous. Unquote. Horseshit. It's so embarrassing. It's so terrible. This is the worst script. This is worse than a B movie. It's that bad. It's worse than that. It's worse than a B, C horror movie. It's just terrible. The acting in this whole thing is rotten. Tucker Carlson, not a good actor. Megyn Kelly, terrible actress. This guy, terrible. Erica Kirk, quote unquote, Francev, rotten actress. These people are terrible. In the description below, this movie was, it's not a movie, it's a 20-minute clip of an individual breaking down the whole thing step by step. It's undeniable. He had a blood bag on his right side, around his chest. When he bends over, you can see a dark bag. And then that's where the blood comes from. The blood comes from the right side of his chest, out of his shirt collar, and up across his neck on the left side. The red dot that you saw on your screen on his neck was added in there. It's CGI. Again, completely fake. And then, of course, the reason that there's no blood the entire time that they're carrying him to the SUV, where he just so conveniently happens to lift his head before he gets into the SUV and is thrown in, because that's a natural response for when you're about to, again, hit a car door or something. But there's absolutely no blood anywhere else. It's not dripping off of him, none of that. Why? Because the blood bag is empty. It's beyond embarrassing. And I'm telling you, lying is just lying. At this point, as far as I'm concerned, it does not matter why the lying is taking place. If it's taking place for a good reason, some kind of, again, turning over state's evidence, witness protection, whatever. If that's the angle, I'm sorry, just turn over the evidence. You don't have to fake a death. You don't have to do all of that. And then brainwash younger generations of people into actually thinking that this all happened. I'm going to get into the education aspect of this one more time a little bit later. But again, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. There are so many other ways of handling this. If, in fact, again, he's in witness protection because he turned over state's evidence against someone or a country or a group of people or whatever it was. And then, of course, all of this ridiculous infighting that all of these, again, people in the club engage in back and forth. The Candace Owenses of the world, the Nick Fuentes, them contradicting one another back and forth by themselves, collectively, whatever. It's not worth it. If all of these people, again, and it's been openly said by numerous people, but if these people have been on Joe Rogan, and these people have these massive channels with these massive accounts and this massive production, they're in the club, and we ain't in it. And I don't want to be in that club, because there's no free thinking going on in those clubs. There just isn't. Ultimately, it's still mind control. It's still Operation Mockingbird. It's just on a different wavelength. Again, the number of people who have lost their jobs over believing and emotionally reacting to a lie is astounding. The number of people who are showing up to this Charlie Kirk event in Arizona is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I was dropping this quick little, again, 19-20 minute clip and just telling people to wake the hell up. He's alive. Stop believing the lies, the whole thing. And this is the kind of stuff Orwell warned us about. I mean, this is it. Training people to not use their eyes and not think for themselves and just believe what strangers tell them. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to watch the video Bounce around on the right places on the internet and find out the answer for yourself. But again, deception is the devil's game. It doesn't matter why or how the deception is taking place. I understand we're at war. I understand deception in warfare. I mean, I get it. I understand that angle. However, in something like this, with something this sloppy, and people, again, attempting to control this as much as humanly possible, I mean, they're hanging on to it by a thread because it's slipping through their fingers. Let me give you another example of exactly how that's happening and why. If you get on Fox News' X account, they put out this on, again, late at night on September 20th at 9:53 p.m. It's got 3.9 million views. And it says, "Man of Steel, Charlie Kirk's body stopped a bullet that would typically go through everything. And it was an absolute miracle. Nobody else was killed," his surgeon told TPUSA. They're getting shredded in the comments. Absolutely cooked. One person said, "It's a miracle." And then they attached a 17, 18-minute video of these YouTube gun bros shooting 30-06s through about every single object you can possibly imagine. Just disintegrating these objects. Ballistic gel, pop cans, the whole thing. Again, people are even on there, like Owen Schroyer, for God's sakes, and he's even claiming it's possible he was shot through the back of the neck. Through the back of the neck. And that what you see on your screen is the exit wound. Stop it. It's embarrassing. Even Owen Schroyer's not awake to any of this, and he's not even affiliated with InfoWars anymore. That's even worse. That's even more embarrassing. But again, the people in the comments section are flat out tearing apart Fox News. Let me mention this too again regarding the individuals who are attending, these Charlie Kirk memorial things. This would never happen for anybody else. In any other logical situation, even if it were a president of the United States, it wouldn't happen. They wouldn't open up an entire stadium. They don't do this for Supreme Court justices. They don't do it for anybody. It's a show. And it's a bad one. It's not a believable show at all. But we have to examine just very quickly the kinds of people that are there. Because you talk about a mixture of individuals who are both brainwashed and also, again, those who are in on the hoax. They are all there. And they are intermingling with one another. I mean, you're talking about older Freemasons, younger Freemasons, the youngest generation of Freemasons, people, again, who are being paid to perpetuate the lie, and then the innocent and the gullible, who have no idea what the hell is going on, but they're overcome with emotion about a guy that they never even met. Again, it's all embarrassing. And if you just, again, even play the odds, you know how, like, whenever somebody would maybe watch a card game on television, and they, of course, first started doing this, I believe, during poker matches that would be on TV. They would show you the hands of everybody and what they are actually holding, in particular in Texas Hold'em. And then the cards, of course, are laid out on the table one at a time, and then you can see the odds changing. The percentage of the odds of that individual winning that hand would always change with every single card that would get turned over on the table. It's just like this. I mean, it's happening in this situation too. You can see all the different hands, but with every single truth that gets told and every single truth that gets exposed, the percentages of everybody winning in this situation just diminishes dramatically. The percentages, again, of everybody thinking that they can somehow get away with this diminishes dramatically. I mean, this is the Matrix, and it's disgusting. And Fox News, of course, is guilty. They're all in on this, all of them. But it's too hot for these people to touch. Anybody on Fox News or any other news channel who comes out on stage or wherever in front of these cameras, sitting on a curvy couch and says, "You know what? This doesn't smell right to me," that person gets fired instantly. And they don't even have to say it didn't happen. All they have to do is say, "This seems off. This seems a little strange." Again, they're not thinkers because they're not paid to be. They're paid to just be news readers. We've done the research for you. You don't need to think. Just read what we've given you and everything will be fine. You talk about a slave. It's awful. The whole thing is awful. And so many people are buying it. And you talk about brainwashing children and younger generations. It's very, very sad, I think. Now, with that aside, just briefly, I want to make a couple of corrections regarding that Miles Mathis particular paper. I had individuals reach out to me in the comments section, and they were like, hey, be careful about this Miles Mathis guy. He thinks everything is a hoax, and he uses the lineage thing all the time. And again, I don't know anything about him. I haven't read his other papers on any other issues. I just enjoyed how in that paper he was getting the acting portrayal correct. He was saying these people are acting, and they're bad at it. Again, the situation of their history and their travel and how they met, and again, Charlie Kirk's fake wife's speech and not showing their kids' faces on anything. It's just all unnatural. It all looks like a production. He's a father, he's a parent, he's a this, he's a that. I mean, look, Charlie Kirk's not exactly a looker. And if Miss Arizona is going to pick him, I mean, that's a bit suspicious, no? The whole thing is staged. The whole thing is set up. So, again, I just want to come out on that and basically say the evidence is overwhelming, and it's actually right in front of everyone's face if they just want to look. It's painfully obvious it didn't happen. Which means, again, if they've done it in the past, which let's face it, they have with practically everything, and they've done it with this, they're going to do it again. So pay attention to the next time that they do this, because they will do something like this again. And again, even on Saturday night, awful lot of date fagging on social media. A lot of people saying, something's going to happen on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday's whatever, Rosh Hashanah or what the hell Monday is. I don't know. One of those 2 days. Don't really care. But people, again, they're all over the place. It's just mass confusion. That's a perfect time to just turn it all off and just slow down and just say, to hell with all these people. And let me get into this. There is a historic significance to this, I think, to some extent, because, again, it can be used, and this has been widely discussed and, of course, even brought to my attention, and I believe it. But what this has done is it's shifted the attention onto Antifa and, of course, designating them as a terrorist organization. And that once you do that, then you can follow the money. And of course, hopefully, as even President Trump said, you can engage in a RICO case against these individuals, and you can imprison anybody who is moving money to those individuals, because now, at the very least, there appears to be some kind of a death, quote unquote, not really, tied to this. Now, they should have done it a long time ago, because there were endless crimes, including vandalism. The whole, George Floyd lie, summer of 2020. They could have done it back then too, but they didn't. They apparently decided to wait until this. But either way, there's a historic significance to this, and this is, of course, what the left would use to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. But the fact is that the first person to brand Antifa as a terrorist organization was Adolf Hitler in 1933, and rightfully so. Why? Because Antifa are communists. They were Bolsheviks directly tied to the communist revolution in Germany. They were the enemy of a free people. So he criminalized them. He criminalized the entire organization. He arrested a bunch of them. Somebody tried to set a building on fire, he would arrest them. If somebody wanted to start a business under the guise of being one thing and it turned out to be an Antifa business really, what would they do? They would break the glass, bust in the door, take the people out, and arrest them because they were communists. But if you listen to the revisionists to some extent, and all of these individuals, again, who lie in all these textbooks and in all of these movies and all these propaganda films and everything else, they make it sound like the Gestapo, quote unquote, was showing up and just ripping nothing but Jews away from their businesses and doing so unlawfully. No, that's not true. As you're well aware, because I've been over it on the show endless times, the vast majority of Jews, upwards of 98% in all of Europe, were communists. All of them. They created it after all. Why wouldn't they be? It's like you, again, creating a hat and then wearing the hat. Of course you'd wear the hat. It's yours. You made it. But even so, there's a historic significance to this. And again, Antifa needs to be done away with. But they're not the only ones. There are endless terrorist organizations. AIPAC is a terrorist organization. The ADL is a terrorist organization. If you say Christ is king, you're an anti-Semite as far as they're concerned. I mean, these people are everywhere. These groups are everywhere. This is the infiltration instead of invasion. And it's overwhelming. But I wish that people, again, would look into the history of actual Antifa. You can get on any search engine you want and type in, who was the first to criminalize Antifa? Read the answer. It'll say the word Nazi all over the place, but again, that's a derogatory term that even they didn't use back then, because why would you call yourself a derogatory term? It's the Nationalist Socialist DAP party. But man, I'll tell you what, there's so many moving parts going on right now and so many different things, it's hard to keep track. Let me give you another one. The whole Smith-Mundt Act stuff and this entire discussion, which is clearly manufactured about the Smith-Mundt Act. The Smith-Mundt Act, again, the history of it matters, and a lot of people get it wrong. The fact is it was implemented around 1948. Now, what was going on in our country and around the world in 1948? You had the end of the war. And then, of course, the early 50s right around the corner. And then before you know it, you had to make sure that every newspaper and news station and radio station and what have you was telling the same stories about World War II. Everybody had to get on the same page. And you can't say anything otherwise. You can't say that we left our own soldiers over there, we left millions over there to just get slaughtered and die of starvation. You can't say any of that. You can't say anything bubkiss about concentration camps and how, again, those weren't depicted quite the way that they're depicted in movies and in television and whatever. The Smith-Mundt Act, if you look at it from a different angle, was designed to just get everybody on the same page. It's not about telling the truth. It's about making sure that no one deviates from the story that they're given, which is Operation Mockingbird. It's kind of the same thing. Because even with the Smith-Mundt Act in place, they were still lying. You had moon landings. You had Richard Nixon talking on a rotary phone to astronauts on the moon. Give me a break. That's a lie. All of that was a lie. You can go right through history from the signing of the Smith-Mundt Act or its implementation all the way through Vietnam. You can go all the way through Iran-Contra. You can go all the way through the quote-unquote terrorist events at the Olympics, whatever year that was, I think in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you can pick a story, it doesn't matter. The Challenger explosion that school students saw in school, just to again traumatize them over a lie. 9/11, so on and so on. Again, the modernization of it being done by Obama and sliding it into another bill and basically changing it and allowing the media to already lie. Well, they were already lying to everybody. Everybody was already being misled. Excuse me. That's the odd part about it. But again, it's the illusion of making it look like government is going to tell you the truth. They're not going to. It's government. It literally means mind control. That's what the word government means. So again, all this Smith-Mundt Act talk, I'm sorry, I'm not buying into it either. I'm not blackpilling here, by the way. I need to make that abundantly clear. I think there are great things happening all the time. But the most important thing, I think, beyond individuals finding Jesus, is that they find the truth. And that they walk away from every single institution and every single apparatus that is lying. And then don't be fearful to call them liars. Don't be fearful to look at these people and say, you're brainwashed. You believe something that's not real. That's not my fault. That's your fault. Again, I've Walter Mittied walking into a school board meeting, in particular, one of these school board meetings where, excuse me again, you have all these students and parents coming up to the lectern and they're saying things like, well, my teacher was railing on Charlie Kirk and saying that it doesn't matter and downplaying it, but Charlie meant a lot to me and this, that, and the other and whatever else. Again, anytime you have that binary approach to any issue, where one side is saying one thing and then the opposite side is saying the exact opposite, that means that the answer lies somewhere in the middle and at a 40,000-foot view, which means you would be the outlier, so to speak. You would walk in, or I or whomever would walk in, walk up right to the lectern and say, you know what, this has been riveting, listening to both sides argue back and forth. And yet no one in this room has ever met Charlie Kirk, which means none of you know him. Not in the slightest. And you watch television, complete strangers, and you believe it. You watch the news, which is consistently called fake news, and yet you dismiss that as well. So turns out you're both wrong. People criticizing Charlie Kirk and saying, well, I'm glad he's dead and whatever. And then people on the other side going, that's disrespectful. I liked him and I wish he was still alive. You're both being shit on. And they don't even know it. And that's what you tell them. Do you know that the whole thing was a hoax? Do you know that the whole thing is fake? Of course you don't. Because again, if those people can't even arrive at that, then they're never going to ask the next question, which is why? What's the purpose of faking it? Is it just for deception? Is it just a satanic deceptive ritual? Or is it, again, something else? Is it a money shift? Is it a power shift? Is it an influence shift? Is it a monopolizing of the mind, which is what I said previously in a past episode? Trying to get everybody to think the exact same way about a particular thing. They've got everybody reacting as if it's real, and it's not everybody. And that's the interesting part too. But with social media the way that it is and the information that exists that's out there, again, I can't believe it. But I can, because again, it's the school environment. And these environments, again, remember, don't fall for peer pressure. Don't talk to strangers. Don't listen to strangers. Don't take drugs. The environment does the exact opposite. All the time. Let me give you an example of one of these schools, and this is relatively local. This is in the Dayton area of Dayton, Ohio, Miamisburg. This is from the Dayton Daily News. Of course, this is happening all over the nation. And this right here again should prove that this is scripted, that this is again manufactured. I'm not doubting that these people believe something, and then they feel the need to show up to the very environment that's been lying to them and abusing them, certainly their whole lives, whether they know it or not, but definitely over the last 5 years. And now all of a sudden they've found the courage to speak out because Charlie gave me the courage to speak out about my beliefs and whatever else. Okay, great. But the thing that you're speaking about and the motivator was him allegedly dying, which didn't happen, which means your actions are being perpetuated by a lie and are actually being fueled on the basis of a lie. This is where the devil laughs at all of these people, regardless of where they sit on this particular issue. So again, the title of this is video, and they play whatever it is, a 2-minute video. I would play you the audio, but it's not clean. It's not very clean audio. But I've linked it again on my X and Gab account, so you can bounce over there and watch it yourself if you'd like. It's titled "Teachers, Charlie Kirk Remarks Draw Crowd to Miamisburg School Board Meeting." Okay. It says a crowd of more than 100 people packed Thursday's Miamisburg School Board meeting after 2 teachers were placed on paid leave for remarks concerning conservative political figure Charlie Kirk. Prior to the board's usual 30 minutes of public comments, board president Corey Daffler, said there was a mistaken notion going around that a vote would occur at the meeting. Quote, "There's an ongoing investigation going on," Daffler told the standing room only crowd. A total of 14 people, Miamisburg students, parents, and alum, voiced support for music teacher and band director Steve Allward, if I'm saying that right, who posted comments online with at least one mentioning support of social studies teacher Rachel O'Connor, who spoke to students about Kirk in a classroom and later had audio of her remarks posted on social media. Now, very quickly, what if a school teacher was in a building, in a classroom, and the students, of course, looked at them and said, "So, what do you think happened? What do you think about all this?" What if that teacher took the third option, the 40,000-foot view option, and said, "You know what? I've seen a lot of online evidence that this didn't happen, that the whole thing is a hoax." Then you'll get both sides eating you alive and calling you a crazy person. I mean, talk about a trap. It's designed to even trap the person who probably knows what really went on. And that person shares the truth about what actually happened. And then that person loses their job. This is why we are failing as a country, because it's built on lies. There's no truth being told. There's no truths being exposed. Certainly not by, again, these satanic controllers that are controlling everything. That's the damn misery of all of it. But that person, again, would even be in deep, deep trouble. A band teacher said insensitive things, and somebody else said something else. But then there's this crackpot who seems to think that it didn't happen at all. Are you going to place them on paid administrative leave? I mean, you can't win for losing. It says Brooklyn Miller, a Miamisburg High senior, said the controversy over Allward's online remarks stemmed from them being taken out of context and being misrepresented on social media to imply he was okay with people getting assassinated just because he doesn't share the same views as them. Quote, "Never did Mr. Allward state or even imply anything along those lines," she said. His comment was referred to violence and gun deaths, not endorsing harm. Miller and Allward later clarified his stance, condemned Kirk's assassination again, and offered condolences to the Kirk family. She and others said Allward never indoctrinates students and keeps politics out of the classroom, treating equally students of all beliefs. Parent Laura Kinner said that, quote, "To say that Allward has impacted the whole school would be an understatement," unquote, and lauded him for showing unwavering belief in each student's potential and for inspiring thousands of children. Quote, "Allward has always been there for our kids, even when some of us couldn't," Kinner said. "To fire him would be showing our children that no matter how good a person you are, it will get you nowhere if you don't believe in the same ideas as everyone. It would show them that freedom of speech doesn't exist anymore." Again. God. Just the, I don't even have the words anymore. I just don't. Again, these people are running to the microphones, defending people. Again, for a band teacher to even say anything online after a staged event like that he thinks is real is risky. But again, that brings in the question, is this designed to crush freedom of speech? Because you're looking again at the individuals who hate freedom of speech on the left, and now they're getting caught saying things freely in numerous environments, whether it be their private lives, professional lives, what have you. Be asked questions, and then if they provide an answer that other people disagree with, they lose their jobs and they flip out. The same thing happens on the proverbial right, which means if both sides are playing the same game, they're both wasting their time. Because the answer, again, is that a 40,000-foot view on a different wavelength, on a different dimension than the mouth breathers who are just barking back and forth at one another. It goes on, it says Mark Bledsoe, who said his grandson attended MHS and participated in its band, objected to being unable to speak at the meeting after the public comment period had expired. In a written copy of his remarks he provided to the school board, he said it has, quote, he has no other choice but to fire both teachers. Bledsoe said the crowd of students who gathered outside the closed-door school board meeting Wednesday in support of Allward and O'Connor is, quote, solid evidence that this speech from these teachers and others like them have profoundly affected the minds of our children. I don't understand why anybody would be confused that the brainwashed who are doing the instructing would be brainwashing people. It's par for the course. I mean, it's quite literally sort of outlined in their job description, unbeknownst to them, that if you don't teach the thing that they want you to teach and say the thing they want you to say, then you lose your job. Well, that's slavery. There's no free thought there. Let me get into some more of these comments here. Again, this was on Gab when I posted that TPUSA's producer's tweet, and then whatever the hell, an AI picture of Charlie Kirk dressed up as Superman holding a bullet. It's super funny. It says, here's one person, they said they found the bullet just under his skin, ? This is either a bona fide miracle or maybe the shooter missed so bad. What hit Charlie was a ricochet. No. Wrong again. Another person said they think we are stupid. Yeah. Another person said anybody who still believes a word from legacy media is stupid or brainwashed beyond hope of recovery. That's fair. Another person said LOL, bullet fired by a 30-06 at 200 yards lodged just under the skin. Just effing laughable. Yes. Another person said, yep, that makes absolutely no sense. Again, in the words of Orwell, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. It's exactly what's going on here, again. And people are falling for it, again. Fortunately, however, there are a great deal of us out here who are not falling for it and don't fall for it. And then we put content together to again, try to show people and share content to show people, hey, look, take your emotion out of the situation. Take your feelings about a stranger who you've never met out of the situation and again, objectively examine the situation. The whole phenomena of the stage and being on a stage and again, it's a big club and we're not in it and all this stuff. It's not an accident people don't get an invite to these things. They're not in the group. They haven't taken the oath. They're not Masons. They're not a part of these secret societies that run this shit. That's why. There was this from the Gateway Pundit, too. It was titled, Liberal Texas Parents Group Caught Doxing High School Students for Organizing Turning Point USA Chapter. This is par for the course, too. Again, liberal parents doxing high school students, which is violating FERPA, because they want to organize a Turning Point USA chapter. Again, you don't need a Turning Point USA chapter. If you want to start your own conservative group, just call it the so-and-so high school conservative group. That's all you have to do. You don't have to relinquish any of your own original influence to a company that you have no affiliation with other than with your feelings. Again, it's lazy. But the business of liberal parents doxing children is par for the course. They do it in the town where I live with regularity. Again, dating back to the entire Google Classroom fiasco from almost an entire year ago, last December. when their Google Calendar system was completely wide open and anybody could log in who had, again, a school district email account. And you could look at all the 504s, IEPs, the meeting times, the disciplinary records, even of staff members. Again, the meetings, the topic of the meeting, all of this stuff. All of this stuff that was supposed to be private wasn't. And then what did they do when they got caught? Instead of shutting the whole thing down and accepting responsibility for it being wide open and them being careless and stupid, they decided to turn their guns against a school board member and then parents and students who logged in to see if the system was open. They targeted, again, minors and then sought to blackmail them and blame them for actually looking into the system. Only, of course, in the last school board meeting of this month, they ended up having a FERPA guy from the state, the Southwest Ohio, whatever, technology organization, something like that, openly come in and basically say that minors and their parents have the right to log in and look at anything online regarding their child, regarding your school district. He just spit right in all their faces and said they have the right to look at this information. But the school district violated FERPA every single time that they released one piece of private information about one child. And then again, targeting parents and students and seeking to threaten them with expulsion. Well, too bad. I filed federal complaints against this school district with, again, the FERPA organization at the Department of Education at the federal level. And they're sifting through all of these pages and all of this evidence. But this is what they do. They do it all the time. It's Bolshevism. They also do it, I might add, during election season. And they've done it again in the town where I live too. Same thing. They ended up acquiring illegally, a citizen, at least 2 citizens, ended up acquiring illegally the names and addresses and phone numbers and contact information of all of the individuals in the town where we live, in particular, I should say, the parents of children who are registered Republicans. And then before you know it, in your mailbox, you end up getting, vote for liberals and vote for Democrats for school board, and here are the people that you need to vote for, and vote for our levy, and blah, blah, blah. And then you sit there and you go, how in the hell did they get my home address? How is it that they again push this out in some giant snail mail blast to where everybody got this left-wing propaganda nonsense? Like we can't think for ourselves. Well, I got a piece of mail in the mailbox, so now I'm going to change my opinion. Just like that. They're telling me who to vote for, so I'd better vote for who they want me to vote for. Again, it was a FERPA violation, a big one. But school districts do this again on a year-in, year-out basis. It's their policy. It's what they do. I mean, the technology's bad enough. The surveillance system is bad enough. The simple fact, again, that they're being digitally groomed and their digital twin, as far as the wireless body area network is concerned, is consistently being built around them, and they have no idea. Their entire identity is online, thanks to the old Google Chromebooks and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in foreign countries, and you name it. I'm just shocked people keep participating. How much worse is all of this social engineering going to get before people again continuously start to walk away? I mean, my God, the energy that they put into these school board meetings to show up and yell about a stranger who they think died, who didn't, who they never met in their entire life. They could take all of that energy and just put it into actually having free homeschooling within their own home environment for a couple of hours a day, 5 days a week, and then they'll graduate faster than the rest of their peers who are attending brick and mortar schools. I'm going to get a nosebleed if I keep talking about it. I'm serious. It's just, it's alarming. The stupidity is alarming. Now, speaking of that, and this is rich. This was sent to me also by a former guest of the show and a listener of the show. Thank you for sending this to me. I had no idea that this was a thing, but it does not surprise me because the level of stupidity with this is next level. Now, the state of Texas can't be unique when it comes to this. I'm certain that this has to be one of those things that does exist across the nation for a number of different school districts in a number of different states, but it's pathetic. This is referred to as the Cornerstone Club. And essentially, what this means is school districts will set up voluntary donations for staff members, all paid staff members, to have a portion of their paycheck deducted to go back into the school district to help fund the school district. Now, again, when I say a portion, it can be 50 cents to $1, whatever. It can be more than that. It can be however much the individual teacher actually wants to, again, put back into the district so that they have funds to do whatever. Keep in mind, they're so gullible, not only would they give away their own hard-earned money to their own school district that's actually paying them and brainwashing them and abusing them and everything else, unbeknownst to them, but they won't even think to track where that money's really going. It could just be being stolen for all they know. But somebody, again, might write a giant plastic cardboard check or whatever and say, oh, look at all of the money we raised. Here's where it's all going. We're putting it back into the library, or we're putting it back into sports, or we're getting more clubs put together, and we're giving back to the quote-unquote kids. I mean, they'll do something like that without even thinking that someone is skimming off of the top and just flat out stealing. It's amazing. In this one school district, apparently they ended up giving back just over $250,000, or approximately $250,000. And here's where it gets even more shady. They openly state that not only, of course, is it voluntary donations, but that it doesn't always go back to the very things or the very people that they may want it to go to, that the district gets to decide where the money goes. So if there's some kind of a pet project that a teacher is working on, or a group of teachers get together and say, well, we need this for our classrooms because we all do this at the same time and blah, blah, blah. They make a proposal to the school district to receive some of that money. And then before you know it, some school teachers in some buildings end up with a particular toy or a technological piece, or they're all going on a field trip or whatever it is. And then before you know it, that's how the money is getting spent. It's not like it's even across the board. They're selective with where the money ends up going, which means favoritism. It means that the bootlickers are going to get a little extra. It's exhausting. Now, I want to mention this, and this is very important, and this ties into two individuals who, again, used to work within this district, and one, unfortunately, is still receiving a paid vacation, as a Title IX is continuing in his particular case. Of course, I'm referring to the elementary school principal, Jason Mers, who I wrote a Substack about, at least 2 Substacks, and then, of course, the case of Joseph Hall, who was pinched in, what would that have been? Montgomery County, or actually Warren County, Brookville. Well, no, it's Montgomery County, Ohio, Brookville, by the Brookville Police Department, for during the workday when he was working for the Montgomery Juvenile Detention Center and Educational Services, whatever the hell. And again, decided to leave his cell phone at work and then get in his pickup truck and drive to a residence in order to have sex with a male. A random male in a random place. As married to a woman, he is, apparently, and including their 6 children. So, this is the power of open records requests. And this is exactly why people can do it. And if people can connect dots, and you read, and you investigate, and you take notes, you will catch these individuals, and you will catch them lying. Not just school officials, but the people that they hire and the people that they seek to protect. So I made a couple of open records requests regarding Joseph Hall, who of course is no longer an employee here and was for approximately, about a month before eventually again being caught lying he was caught lying to the administration and the hiring committee regarding his past whereabouts and his past involvement and a number of other things. And so what I want to do here is, in this open records request, I received back, among other documents which are remarkably damning, there's this one which sticks out like a sore thumb, and this is his pre-disciplinary meeting notice. This would have been the email and the hand-delivered email along with phone call that he received. Basically, again, saying that we need to meet with you because of allegations that have come up and things that you told us that turned out to not be true. This is highly entertaining because there's a very specific element in this letter that ties back to what the Brookville Police Department and police officer who investigated the matter in the first place certainly had a feeling about, but didn't have proof. Well, now he has proof. And he has proof that Joseph Hall lied to him as a police officer and lied on the police report. So Joseph Hall's going to go to jail. And we just got a pedo off of the streets. You're welcome, America. Here's what it says. Talawanda School District, August 21st, 2025, via hand-delivered email and phone call, Dr. Joseph Hall, regarding pre-disciplinary meeting notice. Dear Dr. Hall, I am writing to inform you that a pre-disciplinary meeting has been scheduled for you on Friday, August 22nd at 10 a.m. at the district offices, 131 West Chestnut Street, Oxford, Ohio, 45056. At this meeting, you will be given the opportunity to respond and or explain the allegations described below. If you wish, you may also bring a representative. No other persons will be permitted to attend on your behalf, and this is not a public meeting. The allegations are as follows. Now, before I read them, let me be clear here as to the timeline from this past summer. Actually, I'll go back a year. Hall was arrested, I believe, in May, if I'm not mistaken, June of last year, after in May, he approached again, he got on the sniffies.com website in order to meet up with a random person to have sex with them at a random location where this individual lives, allegedly. He thought he was being set up. He openly admitted to the police officer that he was there to have sex with a dude. He again said that he thought he was being set up, but he walked in, looked around, rubbed his nipples a little bit, which is caught on security camera, and then he ended up leaving. And then again, once the people who live in the residence saw that this strange person was in their home, that's when they filed a criminal complaint for criminal trespass, and then there you go. And as a result of all of that, of course, not two or 3 days later, even before the police got involved, he decided to resign from his position and he took a job with Warren County, basically doing the same kinds of things around minors in their educational services center. And then, of course, not long after receiving that job, maybe a couple of months, he was placed on unpaid administrative leave and then was investigated and then was ultimately cut loose from Warren County, I believe, in February of this year, February or March. Then he ended up applying for the position of Director of Student Services at Talawanda. It was him and two other individuals, two other females, and they gave the job to him. They hired him without a proper background check. They did the fingerprint nonsense, apparently, but he didn't even turn in the background check yet until after he got hired and got board approval to be hired. So he was already hired. And then again, all of that information started to come back, and then more information started to get released, and people again started to do basic Google searches on this guy. And then they found a court case, and then they found a plea deal. And then I went down the rabbit hole, and I got a hold of it, and then I found everything. I found the police report. I published everything. I talked with the detective who was involved in the case in Montgomery County with the Brookville Police Department, the whole thing. This is where, again, in this disciplinary meeting, there's a point that proves that he was there to actually have sex with a minor. Not just some random dude, a minor. And again, the police officer investigating said, I think he was there to have sex with a minor, but I can't prove it. Well, I just did, and it's right here. And now that police officer is in possession of all of this information and has emailed me back and said, thank you for sending this my way. You're welcome. Here's what the letter again says. The allegations are as follows. Number 1, on or about Monday, June 3rd, 2024, you entered a private residence without permission. You were later charged with burglary under RC 2911.12b, a 4th-degree felony. On or about, number 2 it says, on or about April 28th, 2025, you entered into an intervention in lieu of conviction diversion program for the burglary offense. Number 3, on or about August 8th of 2025 and August 11th, 2025, you met with Dr. Thoreau and Dr. Bailey, the HR director and superintendent, to discuss the results of your BCI background check and the circumstances surrounding your burglary charge, which again proves that the district hired him before the results of anything came back. And they didn't even think to use Google to look this guy up before they interviewed him. That's careless. That's stupid. It goes on, it says, during these meetings, you were not truthful with Dr. Thoreau and Dr. Bailey when you provided the following. A, you went to the home involved in the incident to complete an Amazon Marketplace transaction to purchase lawn furniture. That's the story that Joseph Hall told the HR director and the superintendent. It goes on. Point B, the Amazon Marketplace post was a fake post which was created by a 17-year-old who you used to work with at the Montgomery County Juvenile Detention Center. Point C, the victim was the 17-year-old's grandmother. D, the charge was reduced to a misdemeanor, and E, the only intervention was to meet with a probation officer every other month. That was the story that Joseph Hall told them. It says 4, you also explained in this meeting that you intentionally withheld information about this charge and the diversion program during the hiring process. You did not include the charge information in your application for employment. And then number 5, you were also untruthful as you did not disclose that you resigned your previous employment due to possible threat of termination from Warren County, which, of course, Talawanda didn't even know that he worked for Warren County and was employed by them, which means, again, Joseph Hall falsified his application, which is a crime, and a probation violation because he's on probation. The letter wraps up and says, each of separate and distinct allegations of misconduct, if true, constitute good and just cause for disciplinary action up to and including termination of your employment contract. You and your representative are invited to attend the pre-disciplinary meeting and to present all information you may have to address, explain, or refute the charges set forth herein. You will be afforded a full opportunity to tell your side of the story in response to the allegations against you. If you elect not to attend this meeting, we will assume that you have no response to the allegations contained in this notice. Based upon the information presented at the meeting, if any, and the information now available, I may consider disciplinary action up to and including termination of your employment contract following the pre-disciplinary meeting. You will be notified of the recommendation concerning any disciplinary action. Sincerely, Dr. Edward Thoreau, Superintendent. He was there to have sex with a minor. It's proven now. He's admitting he was there to have an interaction with a 17-year-old. Whether he was set up or not, it doesn't matter. He was there not to pick up lawn furniture or to sell something or buy something. He was there for a sexual exchange with a minor. Jail. You've seen these videos online of these dudes that get together and they get on these online chat boards and they pin down these pedophiles and they find them and then they coerce them to show up to a particular location, and then of course they approach them and they show them their own text messages, and then of course they call the police. It's basically a similar situation here now. This particular detective with the Brookville Police Department has more than enough evidence to arrest him. Solicitation of sex with a minor. They've got this guy admitting to the police that he was there to have sex, and now they have evidence that he was there to have an interaction with a 17-year-old who happened to be there. He wasn't there to have sex with a grandmother. He told the cop he was there to have sex with a dude, and he was at the right address. But when he walked in and he looked around, there was no 17-year-old there. And then he panicked and he left after rubbing his nipples on security camera. Classic. You know, that old wives' tale. It's amazing. At the very least, it's a probation violation. At the very least, it's jail time. This guy needs to be, again, wrapped up as a sex offender. Tier 1, Tier 2, something. I wouldn't mind Tier 3. Hell, I wouldn't mind a wood chipper. If anybody thinks that this guy's going to change his ways, they got another thing coming. It's not going to happen. But at least there's one more off the streets and one more that's unemployable. Speaking of unemployable, I've said it on the show here before too regarding employees of the Talawanda School District. Just a little hint to everybody. If your name is wrapped up in a federal lawsuit and you happen to be an employee of a school district, you're probably not going to get hired. And if you do, you'll probably get fired in short order. Apparently, that's happened with some Talawanda School District employees whose names are immediately wrapped up in federal lawsuits. Like Stephanie Arney, certainly Ed Thoreau, the superintendent, Mike Malone, the old HR director. I mean, these people, again, their names are all over a federal lawsuit for failure, again, to do the right thing in the hiring and firing of a particular individual who was, again, sexually assaulting and groping a female student. Again, having your name on a federal lawsuit is kind of frowned upon in the hiring process. Certainly in ethical working environments anyway. But with that aside, now there's Jason Mers, the elementary school principal. And this one is a tricky one, although it's highly unethical. Jason Mers is still being paid by the Talawanda School District. He's on paid administrative leave as a superintendent of an elementary school as a male, creepy, and he happens to be one of the higher paid administrators in the entire county, certainly elementary school principals anyway. As a result of, again, his alleged sexual assault of at least 4 minors on 4 separate occasions, all of which appear to be in bathrooms or around bathrooms. As a result of all of that, in an ongoing Title IX investigation, during the same Joseph Hall open records request, I happened to stumble across Jason Mers' name. And as it turns out, at the beginning of August of 2025, Jason Mers was a featured guest in a Google Meets Google meeting that took place among administrators, secretaries, what have you, for the Talawanda School District in Oxford, Ohio. This is highly unethical to again have an individual who is under a Title IX investigation have direct access to staff members. Now here's, again, the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part is there's nothing in the Ohio law that states that a superintendent has to keep the contact from occurring between an individual who's being investigated and who is on paid administrative leave, certainly through a Title IX investigation of an allegation of a very heinous nature on numerous occasions. But at the exact same time, again, there's nothing on the books that states that he can't participate in meetings. And that's the gross part. Now, with that aside, most lawyers would say he should have no contact with anybody within the school district because it looks like he's trying to influence the outcome of a Title IX investigation. That if you're giving him access to school buildings or school staff members or even students or anybody, then that just looks bad. But that's exactly what they're doing. And they don't know that it looks bad. Because it's evidence of it all looking bad. And trying to make it look as if he's not guilty of anything. If he were really guilty, and we thought he was really guilty, then he wouldn't be involved in any of these meetings. But because you see his name on these meetings and he's participating in some of these online meetings, well then, you can rest assured that he didn't do anything wrong. That's unethically trying to influence the results of a Title IX investigation during a Title IX investigation. It's literally a Title IX violation during a Title IX investigation. This is how retarded these people are. So, I, of course, took that proof and that documentation and sent it to all the necessary parties so that they have that, because that doesn't look good. So, thank you again, Talawanda, for setting your own trap and then walking right into it again. Just like in the case of Joseph Hall, I'm going to stay on this regarding Jason Mers. He's not going to be able to escape this. I've seen too much evidence that points to him doing this and being a serial child abuser. There's no way he gets away with this in the end. And yes, he can still be charged. The statute of limitations on child abuse is practically endless. Just because some local prosecutor doesn't want to pick it up doesn't mean somebody else won't. Just because the local police department that didn't investigate and follow the law of investigating over a year ago, approximately 1 year ago, almost to the day, just because they didn't do it a year ago doesn't mean they're not guilty of anything either. They don't have to be the investigating party. The investigation's already taking place again by a Title IX investigator. We're talking about federal crimes here, not some local small court kind of thing. No. Jason Mers' name is going to be wrapped up in a federal lawsuit. So is everybody else who's involved in this. It's not going to be good. It's not going to work out for him. Okay, 2 more things, jab-related. Very quickly, last week pretty much set up the entire T-ball for the baseball to get knocked out of the park on this one, I think. Certainly this coming week. Potentially Monday, based on what Trump has said here. But the CDC COVID vaccine panel apparently declined to recommend COVID shots. They just said, we're not going to vote on recommending it. That again should tell everybody that no one should have taken them in the first place. That it's not about listening to your so-called leaders, quote unquote. It's about thinking for yourself, doing your own investigation. And even back then saying something to yourself like, well, I feel healthy now. So why would I inject myself with something for which I know nothing about? And even if I think I do, I'm still just listening to complete strangers about it. So I probably shouldn't do it because right now I'm healthy. Which means if I put a foreign object into my body, I'll probably get sick. And then, of course, last week or the week before, or the month before, certainly before last week when she testified in front of Congress and the Senate, the old CDC director got cut loose because, of course, she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do. She wasn't budging on anything. Well, I wait for the science to come out when it comes to certain shots and blah, blah, blah. She wasn't listening to other experts who had a counter opinion and a counterpoint to what she was saying. And, of course, couldn't be trusted. And she works at the pleasure of the president, and then, of course, she wasn't doing her job and she got cut loose. And again, her testimony is embarrassing, and that's putting it mildly. I have at least 2 clips on the war video from Saturday night. I highly recommend checking it out, but she's lying about a great many things, including very basic conversations that she had. But it's the month of September, and we were told by RFK Jr. that the month of September was going to be when the autism studies were going to drop, and it was going to show that vaccines cause autism. We've known this, of course, for decades. Not a new thing to us, but it's going to be a new thing, and again, a very unbelievable thing to endless people. Isn't that funny? A person that no one knows allegedly gets shot, although didn't, on a screen for them to see and for, of course, to be tampered with, and endless anomalies around that. And they blindly believe it. But when scientists, quote unquote, come out and say the opposite of their own belief system, again, they deny it. They'll instantly deny it. My child doesn't have autism because I gave him or her all of the recommended, quote unquote, shots into their little bones when they were little babies and throughout the entire course of their life. That couldn't be the reason why they seem off all of the time and now have been diagnosed with autism and continue to take drugs for said condition. Drugs cause conditions. It's that simple. Poisoning causes conditions. There would be no conditions if there was not poison. There would be no conditions if there were no shots. But this is a good thing that this is happening because it's a slow disclosure of the truth. Eventually, with enough time, people will arrive at the ultimate conclusion. Viruses do not exist. There is only poison and symptoms of being poisoned, and then the fictitious names that they create to justify the symptom of the poisoning and the symptom brought about by being poisoned. Flu, a cold, COVID, measles, mumps, rubella, all of it. Polio. It's all of it. So again, when people say nothing is happening and nothing good is happening, that's not true. The medical industry is being brought down to their knees right now, and they hate it. But there isn't anything that can stop this. The simple fact, again, that you watch or listen to clips from congressional hearings and senatorial hearings on vaccination, poisoning people. There was a time when that never happened. And I mean never. But it's happening now. With consistency. And has been. With consistency. This is only going in one very positive direction. People not taking them anymore. And the people that do, they will end up sick. And then they'll end up dead. It's that simple. But we'd love to see them again be abolished completely. And be destroyed completely. Certainly the commercials among anything. I mean, my God. Commercials are ridiculous. If I have to see another one having something to do with meningitis, I'm going to lose my mind. But, these commercials have got to stop. So that's part of the plan here too. Of that I have no doubt. It's going to take time, but it's still happening. Thanks for listening as always, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be an interesting week as always. And I will catch you on Wednesday. Peace. Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.